Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about emotional eating. And this episode is really for you if you have a tricky relationship with food, you judge yourself a lot, you shame yourself a lot, you're maybe in a cycle of going to food for comfort. But I'm also going to go a little deeper and I'm going to share my personal story. So I will be talking about eating disorders. I will be talking about more deeply rooted stuff that goes underneath. And this episode is really for you if, yes, you might have a tricky relationship with food, but if you know that you are in patterns and habits and behaviors that feel unhealthy, but you just can't break them. I'm going to talk about why we do what we do, where it comes from, how we can stop judging ourselves, and how we can really step into an energetic of compassion. So if you are in a space where this feels hard, just know that I've got you. Take the next 15 minutes and really absorb the wisdom that is here and see what lands for you. Now, before I begin, I just want to introduce myself in case this is your first moment in my space. I'm Jo. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I also work very deeply with inner child and somatics. And I'm someone who dieted for a very long time and also had an eating disorder, bulimia specifically, for quite a while. So I know this space. And I know my own experience. And I know from working with so many beautiful women that we have so many things in common. We have so many things in common. Secret eating, eating in shame, feeling like we can't really say the things we want. All of this is connected and it's tied. And I'm going to explain why. So let me begin by just thinking about what emotional eating actually is. This is how I would define it. And again, I want to just make clear that I'm not a food psychologist, that I'm not a dietitian. I'm not someone who's specialized in that. And I believe that emotional eating is always a symptom. It's always something that's happening on the surface because underneath there is something deeper. There is something deeper. So emotional eating is something where we go to food in order to feel soothed or to feel like we don't have to feel. To feel like we don't have to have our emotions, right? It's a very similar numbing mechanism to alcohol, to watching Netflix. There are so many ways we're actually expert. We're so wonderful as human beings. We're so good at not feeling our feelings. So that's what emotional eating is. It's eating for some kind of payoff, eating for some kind of emotional reason. And there's a very understandable link as to why this goes deep and to why we really do this behavior, right? And the first thing I want to say is you might feel super frustrated with yourself. You might be like, oh my goodness, I'm just in this cycle and I keep on reaching for this packet of biscuits or doing this thing and I know that I don't want to. And so if you're in that space, my invitation is to stop getting angry with yourself and to really give yourself compassion. I'm going to talk about the three big reasons that we emotionally eat. And then I'm going to give you really practical advice for how to come out of this cycle if you are in a space where that is possible for you and you are ready. And again, sometimes we need certain things to cope. That's why they exist in our world, in our space. So no shame, no judgment, only compassion. Only compassion. So my personal journey with this is that I was always, since I was very, very young, very conscious of my weight, very conscious of my size, very conscious of being bigger because I'm very tall, didn't get clothes that would fit me. And that actually isn't the emotional eating side of things. And that's super confusing because you're like, oh, of course, those are things that are connected. Then you would try and make yourself thinner and then you would go into eating disorder. But what is really unhelpful about this cycle is that on one hand, I had that, which was I need to be thinner and I need to shrink my body. And on the other hand, I had food is the way I soothe myself. Food is comfort because it is. From the moment we come into this world, food, being fed, is our first source of comfort. It's our nervous system's first source of, oh, I'm okay. So we have this really vicious cycle that exists and existed for me for such a long time. And when I realized this, it was such a moment of like, oh my gosh, this was rigged against me. This cycle of the conditioning around body. and then this impulse to eat for emotional reasons. And then what happened for me is it became so tangled, and there were things that I was feeling that felt so overwhelming that I was then in a cycle of bulimia, which I believe my personal experience is a form of not only an eating disorder, but also self-harm. Yeah, it's big, big stuff, big stuff. And everyone's experience of this is so unique. Well, let me talk about the three reasons that we emotionally eat. The first one is soothing. The first one is we want to soothe ourselves. In that moment, we need something to soothe ourselves quickly. We have an association, a body association, a nervous system association with food is pleasure. I'm just going to feel a little less of this, right? So there's this soothing piece. Now, what is underneath that is that we're not ready to feel our feelings. There's something that we're avoiding feeling. That's why we numb, because it feels too difficult, too big, or too painful. So we numb, so we can get through the day, so we can go on with our job. Again, so much compassion, no judgment, so much compassion. We numb. It's just what we do. And then the third thing that was very, very true for me, and I know for women in my space has been really, really true, is that we emotionally eat because we are suppressing a truth. We're suppressing something that we want to say. So the way that we do that is through food. What does that look like? Well, I remember when I was at my lowest and my bulimia was really, really, really bad. I was at university and I could still feel the charge of it, right? Because it was hard and sad. It was hard and sad. And I didn't have a great time and I wasn't very happy. And I thought that that meant I had failed because I didn't also have a great time for the years before that. And I thought when I went to university, everything would change and I would become this shiny butterfly, and that didn't happen. And I remember my dad would take me out for dinner and then I would come home and I would throw up the whole thing. And that felt so shameful to me. But the reason that it felt so visceral in my body was that I couldn't say what I wanted to say. I couldn't tell him how I was in so much pain, not because he wasn't understanding. I'm very lucky to have an amazing father, but because I was holding it in. I was holding it in. This happened with a client of mine recently where there was something that she just hadn't even admitted to herself. And so she was in this cycle of emotional eating. She wasn't binging, she was just eating emotionally. And it was because she was suppressing this truth from herself. And then once she was able to get it out on a call, she was like, whoa, I don't feel this impulse anymore. So it's really, really important that we look at the behavior as a symptom, not as something we do because we're bad or wrong, but as a symptom for something that might be happening more deeply in your space, more deeply in your body. And I can tell you right now that my eating disorder had nothing to do with food. And that feels super confusing because there was all of this conditioning around, I need to be thinner, I need to be thinner, I need to be thinner. But it was to do with these three things. I needed to be soothed. I couldn't feel what I was feeling. And it had everything to do with how I felt about myself. Had everything to do with not feeling good enough. It had everything to do with feeling like I was a failure, like I was different, that there was something deeply wrong with me. It had everything to do with those beliefs. And that is why in my spaces, this is the work that I do with women, because it's always deeper. There's always something, usually something that your inner child is holding, that is putting you into this cycle. So I hope that is supportive, and I want you to start to think about emotional eating as just a coping mechanism. And there are lots of coping mechanisms that you can choose from, right? And when we bring something into the light of our awareness, we can then start to work with it. Okay, so I'm feeling a lot right now, and I notice that I want to soothe myself. Is my choice to go and eat this cupcake because for 5 minutes I'm going to feel really nice? Yes, okay, that's my choice. There's no shame, there's no judgment. That's where this cycle starts to end. You keep yourself in the cycle when you keep yourself in the shame when you keep yourself in the shame. So I really want you to think about that and to let that land in your body. You keep yourself in the cycle when you keep yourself in the shame. As soon as you channel the energy of curiosity, of, I wonder why I do this. I wonder what would be supportive for me. We're in a completely different space, completely different space. So those are the reasons why we tend to emotionally eat, because of suppression and because of soothing. How do we start to break the cycle? How do we start to really reclaim our bodies? Because the thing is, emotional eating also really disconnects you from your body, really disconnects you because you're just in that reflex, right? And you don't want to think about your body. You don't want to look at your body because, again, taught to have shame. Taught to have shame. So here are a couple of things that you can start to do to try to break this cycle. In fact, let's take out the word try. Someone said to me a long time ago, don't use the word try because it sets you up to fail. It's just you will or you won't. So here are a couple of useful tools. First one, if we know that we go to emotional eating to soothe, find another way to soothe yourself. Find another way. Find another way. So that might look like I'm going to get a soft toy and I'm going to have it and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to cuddle it because that's really going to soothe me. It might be that you know that holding your own hand really soothes you. It might be that giving yourself a hug really soothes you. It might be that talking to one certain person, like I have a friend who I voice note whenever I just need to get something out. It might be that talking to somebody is what's going to soothe you. So find another way to soothe yourself. And then if you go to food, just own that you're doing it, but without the judgment. Really own that you're doing it without the judgment. I am going to eat this packet of crisps because in this moment, I know it's going to make me feel better and that is my choice. When we do that, it just doesn't keep us in the cycle. We're not as stuck because we're not judging ourselves in the same way. It's the judgment that keeps us stuck. So there's that piece. Then we come into holding in our emotions, not feeling because things feel too big, too much, too difficult. This is where I would really suggest, if possible, going deeper with a coach. Because learning to actually feel your emotions and be witnessed by another human is an incredible thing that will change your life. It really will change your life. So if that is possible and accessible for you, then really going to work with a coach could be incredible. And for the next piece too. But in the moment, what you can do, so if you're going to start to just work with this, you can put a hand on your heart, hand on your belly, just really connect with yourself. Okay? Take a breath and just ask yourself, what is it that I'm not willing to feel? And the answer might come really quickly. It might be like sadness, anger, frustration. Okay? I noticed that. Can I challenge myself for 1 minute to just be with this feeling, to just let this feeling move in my body? Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to open up to it. Okay, I'm going to open up to just seeing if I can feel this for 1 minute. Okay, noticing what happens. Breathe. Keep yourself really safe. Wow, I've accessed like a little bit of my sadness. There's more there, but I'll let a little bit come through. This can be transformative for you. If you really start to feel your emotions, honestly, some of the most transformative work. So just notice, can I be with this feeling in my body? Instead of pushing it away, can I start a new system where I'm with it? I'm actually with it. Yeah? Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And then the third thing is to ask yourself, what are you not saying? What is the big truth that feels too big? What is the thing inside you that doesn't want to come out? I'm not happy. This isn't working. I don't like this job. This relationship is over. Like, what is the big thing that you're too afraid to say? If that applies. Again, get really curious. Now, you might not want to even say it out loud, but let me tell you that when you do, it is freedom. Because then, no matter what, you've acknowledged it to yourself. And again, from there, you can start trusting yourself to take steps that are in your best interest in life so that you can move forward. so that you can move forward. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't given you a single dieting tip. I haven't given you a single go to this food or not to this food, because it's not about that. That's just a stick to beat yourself up with. It's not about that. And what I would really love for you to do is to take away good and bad from your vocabulary with food. And this is a total rethinking, because I bet you're surrounded with people who are like, this is good, this is bad. No, no, it just is. It just is. So this is revolutionary, and it's probably out of conditioning. Like, you'll see people being like, oh, I had a really good week this week because I ate this, or I didn't eat this, or I've been bad. Let's just take that out. Let's just take that out. And then let's see what happens. Because again, nothing heals in judgment. If you're saying something is bad, you're judging yourself so harshly and so fiercely. So can you just pull back and take those words out? They're gone. There is what there is. I'm going to choose what I'm going to choose. I'm going to find ways to soothe myself. I'm going to notice where I'm not feeling my feelings, and I'm just going to sit with my feelings. Oh, my body feels better already, right? And then I'm going to start being honest with myself about my life. And I'm going to get support where I need to get support, whether that's a coach or whether that's your friends and your family or people that you really know can hold you. Support is so key for us to really thrive in life. So I hope this has given you something to think about. I would love to know your takeaways, your comments, your breakthroughs, any questions that you have for me. My personal experience is also really welcome. And I just want to tell you, as a coach and as a human, that there is something that we don't often consider, and that is that so many of the reasons that we do the things we do are because things happened in the past that we don't even remember. So your emotional eating actually could be a trauma response to something that happened when you were 3 years old, and we don't know that. And we don't necessarily have to find that out, but we can look at the pattern and look at what's coming up in the body and look at what's coming up with you, and start to give yourself a chance to express and start to create something different for yourself. It is possible to change your life, always. Always. Even when you're in unhelpful cycles, it is so possible to change your life. Okay? And again, let's just call them unhelpful cycles. Not bad cycles, just unhelpful, unsupportive. Not supporting me where I want to get, where I want to be, where I want to go. So, yeah, I hope that's helped. And I'm sending you so much love. I know that this is tender and raw, and it can bring up a lot. So just take really good care of yourself and really be in a space of kind of be with myself, not against myself, because that is a shift that will change everything. I'll see you next week. Sending so much love. Bye.